My name is Colleen Sarah, and I'm a chef, and I enjoy teaching the most. So what I'm going to teach you today is to make a cocktail called the Negroni with my twist on it. And what we're going to do is make the Negroni so it's even healthier than the common Negroni. So the Negroni is an aperitif, and in Europe, all the different countries make different aperitifs. Today, we're going to use a gentian liqueur called Lofi. And Lofi is instilled with rose petals, berries, different types of roots like ginger, and gentian is the biggest one. This is kind of takeoff of a French liqueur called Suze. Some people say the name is Size, I say Suze. So if you're interested, you could go out and purchase either one and put your own twist on. Most people will make a Negroni with Campari or Apparel. Apparel is from France, and the Campari is from Italy. So the gentian, once you drink it, what it does is it relaxes your stomach and enhances your digestion. And it has some bitter herbs in it that contain terpenols. And most of these liqueurs here you'll find contain terpenoids. And basically what they do is they have anti-inflammatory properties, antiviral, antibacterial, many different properties for each different one. So I'm going to take the Lofi, and I'm going to do about an ounce in my shot glass. And as you can see, it's got a really, really pretty rosy or more like a berry color to it. So that comes from all the herbs. There's no food coloring in here. I try to stay away from things that have food coloring in it, but if it doesn't bother you, you could go purchase one of the other bitter liqueurs like Campari or the Apparel. So I'm going to take this glass. This glass is not a traditional glass for this type of drink. Mainly what you would use is more of a rock glass. So here's a rock glass so that you know. So I'm putting 1 ounce of the bitter liqueur in, and then I am going to go to 1 ounce of the gin. Now, if you know anything about gin, some of them are drier than others. Some of them are more, they have more of a juniper taste to them. They're made from juniper berries. And juniper is really great for healing your liver. And so we're going to do the same amount of that. Place that in your glass. Oops, lost a little bit. Okay. And then, so we've got like all different countries here. It's pretty funny. I've got some Martini and Rossi, and this is a vermouth, and it's a sweet vermouth. So it's going to add to the flavor of our aperitif. Just go ahead and pour that in. Now some bartenders will go ahead and they will pre-shake that over ice. I don't like to give it, water it down. So this is the way I do it. What I'm going to do is go and get some ice that I made. A really professional bartender will use an ice cube that is the shape of a globe, as opposed to a bunch of different chopped up ices or cubes. The reason is when you have cubes or crushed ice, you have more surface area and it melts quicker. So you're not going to water your drink down if you do it this way. You can do it in the bottom of a cup, measuring cup, and just go ahead and make your ice cube, and that is not going to water your drink down as quickly. So I have a lemon with me, and I also have a grapefruit. I'm going to grab my grapefruit. You could go with the lemon if you'd like. This is a beautiful, beautiful organic grapefruit. And I'm going to go ahead and slice down on the grapefruit and make a nice twist. So if you do not cut it as close to the grapefruit and you get a lot of that pith in there, the pith is the white part that you get on the citrus fruit, and the pith is very, very bitter. So we're going to hold it really flat and take your paring knife and just get some of that right out of there and discard it. So you can see all the pith is off there, just a little layer. So what I'm going to do is just cut it a little bit to make it pretty. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and squeeze the essential oil right from the peel into the cocktail and make it very fragrant. I can see actually the oil hitting the surface of the cocktail. And then we'll take that and we're going to rub that right on the rim of the glass. You could do it this way as well, so that it enhances the flavor when you take your first sip. And then put that right in there. And also today what I did is, this is my own personal preference. I brought some bitters with me. I make my own, but you can go to any store, you know, any party store or store that has liquor. And this is a rosemary bitter that I made. And I'm going to go ahead and just drop that right in there. And I have this fun little whisk for cocktails. I'm going to mix that up. And we'll garnish with a sprig of rosemary. And I found this fun flower which is edible. You can serve it right on the plate with it, or actually put a petal right in your cocktail, just for some color. And we're all done. Hello, welcome back. I'm Chef Colleen, and we are making a wonderful fall rosemary and walnut and red grape dish. So this dish is kind of fun because if you're doing it at home, you can always do it like for the Thanksgiving holiday or for any fall event. You can just cut Brussels sprouts in half and add them to the mix, and you have a beautiful, beautiful dish. So right now I have already gone and started a dish, and that way when it comes out of the oven you can see what it looks like when it's finished. So it's pretty easy. This can be used to drink with a cocktail, and the rosemary in it is wonderful. Rosemary is really, with what's going on in the world, it's a wonderful, wonderful antiviral, anti-inflammatory. It actually helps your brain. It boosts up enhances your memory. So I already went ahead and measured out 1 cup of beautiful organic walnuts. And I have a nice pan here, and I've laid some parchment paper in there. I'm just going to dump these walnuts, and these are halves. You can use bits and pieces, but the thing about that is they're really hard to pick up. So I've got the walnuts in, and I'm going to go ahead and chop some rosemary. So this recipe actually calls for 2 teaspoons, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with chopping. I've got some really nice long pieces, and I'll show you why. So I take my hands and I hold a claw hand, and you're going to want to hold your knife so that your thumb is right on the side of the knife and your finger is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and use the claw hand. Now the claw hand is not this. It's right like that. And the reason is, if you put your fingers out, you have a chance in cutting your fingers. We're going to hold them in and move the rosemary along as we're cutting. So the reason I'm doing it this way is I have not yet hit the stem in the center. So that stem in the center is pretty woody. I've hit it now. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of this rosemary off, and then just go ahead, again, claw hand, and chop away. So you're going to want to chop it pretty fine. And the reason is, rosemary does get tough, and you don't want really hard sticks in your food. And you want it to grip on to the walnuts. And you also want it to grip onto your beautiful grapes and enhance the flavor of the grapes. Okay, so I've got about a teaspoon right there. Perfect. These are beautiful grapes, organic grapes, and they are seedless. So you're going to want to make sure you've got seedless grapes. I'm going to take, recipe calls for about 2 teaspoons of olive oil. And I'm going to mix that around just a tad bit. And for those of you that are into heart healthy, this is definitely heart healthy. The walnuts are really, really high in omegas, and the olive oil is a perfect addition to that. I don't measure my salt. Recipe calls for about a half a teaspoon. I like to layer things on. There's the salt and your teaspoon of rosemary. And I've got a few grapes here. I'll add those in. Then I'm going to take this beautiful bunch of rosemary that I took apart. I've got 2 pieces that I can use. And I am going to actually weave it into the grapes and weave it right around the stem. And what that will do is actually infuse those flavors right in there. Sometimes I actually will grill the grapes on the barbecue grill, which is a lot of fun. Then I'm going to take, and I need about a half of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Add it to the walnuts and the grapes and the rosemary, salt, olive oil. And we're going to put those beautiful bunches of grapes in there. And again, infuse some of that together. And like I said before, the fun part about this is you could just clean some Brussels sprouts, cut them in half, throw them in there on more of a larger sheet pan. And what I'm doing is I'm roasting at about 400 degrees, and you'll have a beautiful fall dish. This I'm going to use to go with a cocktail. It makes a beautiful platter. You can add a little bit of cheese and have a nice cocktail party. So in the oven this goes. Okay, and voila, this is the first dish that I did before you got here, and it's beautiful. The walnuts have toasted beautifully. It smells very fragrant. I can smell the rosemary, and the grapes are popping and sizzling, and they're caramelized. And we're done.